welcome once again to our continuing discussion of molecular biology and genetics. Today, the point of interest will be structure and function of ribosomes. So, what are these ribosomes? Where they are present in the cell? What is the difference between a eukaryotic and a prokaryotic ribosome? What is its main function? What it is made up of? All these things you should be able to understand and reproduce at the end of my lecture. So before going to see the structure of a ribosome, I would like to explain you the cell factory, the cell as a factory, what actually is going out in the cell. So for this particular aspect, I would like to draw some illustrations and give you the central dogma of life. This all things which are going on, this may seem a bit confusing for you, but it will be elaborated, and once the elaboration you understand it, all these things will be crystal clear. These figures will not make you fear what this is inside the cell. It's very simple, and the basic simplest mechanism for any cell to survive is protein synthesis. That is also called as gene expression. And in this factory, or for a product being formed, what are the requirements? Many tools are required. There is a site required. What does a factory need? A site. In the site, raw materials are needed, then a product is formed. So all these things I will try to make it a bit clear, but first of all, come, let's just see this through some illustrations of my own, then I will come back to the slides. So here I would like to give you a small idea of where the ribosome comes into play in the cell. The cell, as I said, is a small factory of continuously producing proteins, and these proteins are produced by virtue of the DNA. Basically, it all starts on the DNA. The messages on the DNA are encoded or transcripted into the form of a mRNA. If you see a cell, these green molecules, they are ribosomes, and these red molecules, let's assume they are nucleotides, ribonucleotides. The DNA, it is copied down into, if you just take a segment of the DNA which is a gene. Gene is defined as a functional unit of a DNA, and the function is protein synthesis. When you call or when you define the gene as a functional unit of a DNA, the function, remember, is protein synthesis, and gene expression is almost synonymously used with the term protein synthesis. So I am showing here part of that DNA which will be called as a gene. So this closed DNA, actually it is a covalently closed circular DNA molecule, CCC DNA molecule. It will not function as long as it is coiled. It has to unwind itself. So basically this DNA, it undergoes a local unwinding for any process, even if it is DNA replication, or even if it is the synthesis of mRNA. So this synthesis of mRNA takes place by RNA polymerase, shown in red here. We have seen these processes in our earlier lecture, but the difference between DNA polymerase and RNA polymerase is that attachment. See the attachment. RNA polymerase binds to single stranded DNA, whereas DNA polymerase binds to double stranded DNA. RNA polymerase copies only one strand of DNA, whereas DNA polymerase copies both strands of DNA. So we will be focusing here on the transcription and translation process, and today in my lecture the point of interest is ribosomes. Where do ribosomes actually come into play? Once this mRNA is synthesized by RNA polymerase, see, we have already seen the structure of RNA polymerase, we have seen the structure of mRNA in the form of codons, means whatever that is arrangement on the of the nitrogen bases on the mRNA is nothing but codons. So I will just highlight this mRNA now. This mRNA which is there, on this the ribosomes, they come and they attach. The green molecules present in the cell, all this is going out within the cell. So there are two subunits, 30S subunit and 50S subunits. In my next slides I will give much more detail about the formation of this 30S and 50s. What is S in that? The Swartberg unit. We will see in great detail. But here just imagine the point where ribosome is needed and what is its function, what is its structure, that we are going to discuss today. So ribosome, it is binding onto mRNA. Ribosome is the office where everybody assembles for the meeting and to read this mRNA into proteins. What is needed? Amino acids are needed. Who will bring the amino acids here? tRNAs will be bringing the amino acids here. Imagine there are three sites. I mean there is a space for three tRNAs to accommodate on the ribosomes. So see here now, once you know the structure of ribosomes, your immediate responsibility will be to know the structure of tRNAs and its function. That I will be explaining in my next lecture with respect to translation. So translation will start with the structure of tRNA. Remember, even though if it is not there in the syllabus, there is nothing called as not there in the syllabus or out of the syllabus. Whatever revolves around these mechanisms, it's mentioned or not mentioned. Means for eating food, you can't say that the requirement is not mentioned, that hand is required. It is required for eating food. Just like that, there is nothing called as out of syllabus. So structure of tRNA needs to be understood. We will see that in translation. So here today the focus of discussion is ribosomes. Ribosomes, they are the sites for protein synthesis, where actual assembling of amino acids takes place, mediated by this tRNA, which are called as adapter molecules. Those come here and they come with amino acids. Each tRNA contains a anticodon site and it contains a anticodon site. See here, these are the anticodon sites of the tRNA, and this is the amino acid binding site for the tRNA. Each tRNA has an anticodon binding site. The laser pointer, you can see anticodon binding site, and bottom there is amino acid site. So each tRNA, it will bring first amino acid, second amino acid, third amino acid, and as the tRNA comes with the correct amino acid, it is called as a charged tRNA as it moves out of the ribosome. What is ribosome providing? Site for protein synthesis on the mRNA. It is attaching to the mRNA. At the 50S subunit, it is allowing the attachment of polypeptide chain, amino acid binding. In what sequence these amino acids are bounded? It is bounded in the same sequence as the sequence of codons will be present here on the mRNA. Whatever the sequence of nucleotides are present on the mRNA, in the similar fashion, two at a time, one at a time, space for three amino acids on the 50S subunit, this will become, and once this now goes out here, as it goes out, it will leave this amino acid and you will have a chain of amino acid, and this peptide bond formation is also takes place at the ribosomes. So you see, ribosome is a very important, the polypeptide bond between two amino acids. This is the polypeptide bond. Now amino acid third to second, there is need for another polypeptide, and it's like this. First, second, third, they are bound by peptide bonds. These are the peptide bonds, and you have a polypeptide chain, that is the protein in the cell factory. So you should now understand the function and the role of the ribosomes. It is a very intermediate molecule which facilitates the protein synthesis by allowing all the factors, cofactors, enzymes, proteins, molecules to assemble there, whatever is needed for the proteins to get synthesized. Come, let us see in detail the structure of this ribosome, ribosomal RNA. Remember, it is a ribosome, ribosomal RNA. It is a RNA. Remember, it is RNA. 30S subunit, if you just open, it will be a thread-like structure. 50S subunit, if you open, it is a thread-like structure. The two ends of the thread, they have homologous internal pairing, which gives rise to a secondary globular structure. This rounded off structure is associated with some protein molecules. Therefore, it gives a different type of globular structure as compared to the thread-like structure of mRNA or DNA. So all this is very interesting. Let's come see the structure in more. Come, let's explore the structure and function of these ribosomes, which are the most important molecules when it comes to protein synthesis. Ribosomes, they are made up of subunits. large subunit and small subunits, and this structure of two subunits combining to form a single large unit is common in eukaryotes and prokaryotes. Just in my previous explanation, I had shown you how the protein synthesis takes place, but that was just a small part of this big cell factory. So if you just explore into this cell, see now, this is of course a eukaryotic cell. For more clarity, prokaryotes are more simpler, they don't have a nuclear membrane, so nothing is having borders, they don't have any borders to function, so they are free in the cytoplasm, and whatever we see with respect to a eukaryote, it is much more simpler in prokaryotes. So you see there is a DNA. This DNA, see the pointer, follow the pointer on the screen. This DNA, it unwinds, and from there transcription takes place and a mRNA is formed. Okay, this is a mRNA. This mRNA is formed and this mRNA comes out. There are many other processes going on, but just focus on what I want to show you, that is transcription, translation and protein synthesis. So from DNA there is a RNA formed, mRNA. Now this is a eukaryotic cell. I have deliberately chosen this to give you some insight that mRNA which is formed in eukaryotes is not the final transcript. It is not the final transcript, means it undergoes processing. There is a pre-mRNA, remember, in eukaryotes. There is a pre-mRNA that is processed into a final mRNA, and some loops are removed. These are called as introns. The part in the blue which is removed, it is the non-coding region of the mRNA. Non-coding region, those are removed, those are called as introns. What remains are exons, they are joined. So in eukaryotes, the mRNA is not equal to the length of the DNA gene. Means a gene results into mRNA, mRNA results into proteins. But the length of the gene is equal to the length of the mRNA in prokaryotes. It is not there in eukaryotes. It is processed. Then the site of protein synthesis is different. Means it has to come out of this nuclear pore, nuclear membrane pore, and come into the cytoplasm, and here the translation by the ribosomes takes place. The structure which you see here is one mRNA containing many ribosomes, is called as polysome. In the end I will explain that, but you see at each 50s site there is chain of growing amino acids which is the protein synthesis. So this is common in DNA, RNA of viruses, eukaryotes, bacteria, everywhere. But let's not divert away from our focus. We are today interested in seeing the structure of these ribosomes. So the whole site of ribosome function is like this, as you see in the figure here. A mRNA on which a 30s subunit and a 50s subunit, and tRNAs with their anticodon sites and the amino acid, subsequent amino acid coming and leaving the ribosomes, coming into the ribosomes, leaving the amino acid, going away, and a growing chain of amino acid is taking place, forming there. So RNA, there are of three types: mRNA, rRNA, tRNA. All are required in protein synthesis. Protein translation by ribosomes requires all three types of RNA, and ribosomes provides the assembly ground for all these three types of RNA. Messenger RNA, you know the function very well. I will not dwell into more details again here. tRNAs, they are important. Its functions will be mentioned in my next lecture, its structure and function. tRNAs, they carry the amino acids specified by the codons. You see here, if there is a AAA codon here, follow the red pointer. If there is a AAA codon, then UUU will be the anticodon tRNA, bringing the corresponding amino acid and leaving it at the site of protein synthesis, that is the 50S subunit. So tRNAs, they carry amino acids specified by codons and base pair with the codons via their anticodon sites. This all takes place on the messenger RNA. This messenger RNA is the one which is specifying which amino acid has to be bought. So the sequence of nucleotides present on the mRNA will determine the sequence of the amino acids in the protein. Each amino acid is selected based upon the order of the triplet codons in the mRNA. That is, we have seen this in the characteristic features of the genetic code. mRNA, if you have to explain genetic code, that is nothing but mRNA. Okay, structure of mRNA is all the characteristic features of genetic code. So the transfer RNA converts this information from the mRNA codons into amino acid sequences of the proteins, and all this is provided. This meeting place is ribosomes. So ribosomal RNA makes the bulk of the mass of the ribosome, and only in major, what you can say, species, this may not be the major bulk of the RNA content. Otherwise rRNAs, they make up of bulk of the RNA. One rRNA species in this is not what you can say functioning for this. It functions as a ribozyme which catalyzes the peptide formation, that is cutting the peptide formation. You will see that in enzymes. Anyway, so here if you see the ribosomal history, who discovered it, it was firstly discovered in 1955 by George Palade, and at that time it was called as Palade particles or Palade molecules. It was later renamed as ribosomes. These are small microscopic ribonucleoprotein particles which occur in the cytoplasm. They are either free as seen in the prokaryotes, or they are bound to the endoplasmic reticulum in the eukaryotes. Now they have been also called as microsomes in earlier times, but now it has been renamed as ribosomes. They were also called as Palade particles. So this is a good chance for you to understand the MCQ type of questions. Palade particles, they are nothing but ribosomes. So these ribosomes, they are granular structures. They are ribonucleoproteinaceous particles because they have RNA plus proteins. I will show you the composition of eukaryotes and prokaryotes. Ribosomes, they serve as workbenches, the factories, meeting place, you can say the headquarter for protein synthesis, where mRNA, it acts as a blueprint in the process of protein synthesis. They are made up of large subunits and small subunits. Why they are called as large and small? Not only because of the size, but because also of their cell densities, their bulk densities. When they are placed in a certain solution which is known as a density gradient solution, and if you leave it and apply centrifugal force on it, they settle down. The time of settling down in a centrifuge machine is important. That is the characteristic feature of ribosome. So how many numbers, I will explain that Swedberg unit again, but before that, how many number of ribosomes are present in a typical bacterial cell? A rapidly growing E. coli may harbor as many as 15,000 to 20,000 ribosomes, and that accounts for around 15% of the cell mass. And as I just already mentioned, they have a large subunit, they have a small subunit. The large subunit, it has space for accommodating 3 tRNAs, which is called as the EP and A site, empty site, the peptidyl binding site, and the amino acid binding site. This function of these sites we will see in translation. But how are these ribosomes synthesized in the cell? First thing, remember, whatever the ribosomes are present today in all the bacteria, eukaryotes, your body, my body, the number is fixed, amount is fixed. If the amount by some disease or some mechanism is lower down, it is resynthesized, biogenesis takes place, and the amount of ribosomes is maintained. How are these ribosomes synthesized inside the cell? They are synthesized, remember, they have been characterized, they have been fixed by evolution. Process of evolution has already fixed it. But right now, due to some, let us say, accidental measures, ribosome of a cell lowers down, then the cell has its own machinery to compensate the amount of ribosomes. They are resynthesized. Protein parts are made in the cytoplasm. Whatever the protein parts, as I said, is riboproteinaceous structure. The protein parts are synthesized in the cytoplasm. The biogenesis is nothing but the process of making ribosomes in the nucleus in eukaryotes and in the cytoplasm in prokaryotes. The RNAs are transcribed, the ribosomal proteins and the RNAs, they bind together, small and large subunits are made, and they are transported wherever they are needed. In eukaryotes they are transported outside the nuclear pore, in prokaryotes they are transported just freely in the cytoplasm wherever they are needed. As you can see, in prokaryotes the DNA is responsible for formation of these 30S and 40S subunits in different from different genes, and from different genes proteins are synthesized and they accumulate to give rise to the 50S plus 30S subunit which we saw in our previous slide. Now when it comes to their location or where they are present, there in prokaryotes, again and again I am saying, there is, you can see in the prokaryotes they are freely distributed in the cytoplasm. Whenever they are necessary, they have a specificity to RNA, they will bind. RNA is also freely present in the cytoplasm, so by Brownian movement or random collision they will just function. But in eukaryote, as the cell is much more systematic in its evolution and mechanism, they are located at certain organelles, so they are classified according to their location also. Means, how do you categorize or characterize these organelles? Depending upon where they are localized, how they function, what is their mechanism, what are their molecular structures, chemical structures, so on and so forth. So on the basis of location they are classified as free ribosomes and membrane bound ribosomes. Membrane bound ribosomes are present in eukaryotes. They synthesize proteins for membranes and also for the process of exocytosis. They are attached to endoplasmic reticulum, as you can see here, endoplasmic reticulum and other organelles in the eukaryotes. But in bacteria they are usually found freely in cytoplasm, so they are also found freely in eukaryotes also. You can see here, even though they are bound to the endoplasmic reticulum, they are also found free in the cytoplasm here. So they are distributed everywhere, because everywhere there is a need for protein synthesis, and they synthesize proteins whenever needed, in whatever quantity it is needed, inside the cytosol, within the cytoplasm, so on. So this is their location. Now come to the most important part of our understanding of a ribosome. It is always said that they are Svedberg units. So what is a Svedberg unit? Svedberg unit is a unit which is non-SI metric unit for given for measuring the sedimentation coefficient inside a centrifuge machine. You take a centrifuge tube, add density gradient material, and then see, I will go to next slide and come back to this slide. See here, this is a centrifuge tube, and the cells, they are ruptured, they are homogenized, and homogenization centrifuged, then at each centrifugation the supernatant which is containing non-sedimentable particles, they are removed. So at each level you get a pellet and a supernatant. Supernatant will give you some particles, the pellet. There is a density gradient material. So density will allow it to settle at its equilibration point, and at this point what you can do in the instrument is go on fractionating different. You will get flagella different, cell wall different, RNA, DNA, like that. At one fraction somewhere you will get the pellet will contain ribosomes, okay, inside the centrifuge machine. So this is the centrifuge machine, and while doing this process, while going out for the sedimentation, fractionation, so as to bring out the ribosomes in the pure form, what the scientists they observe, you can also observe that faster the particle it travels when there is high speed centrifugation. If faster it travels, greater its Svedberg value, or its Svedberg value is nothing but the sedimentation coefficient rate, the speed at which the ribosomes they sediment inside a centrifuge tube. If it is heavy and more compact, they will have larger Svedberg numbers. If they are light and they are resistant to gravitational or centrifugal settling, then they will have lower sedimentation values. A Svedberg unit is a measure of time required for it to sediment, depending exactly at 10 raised to minus 13 seconds, means 1 divided by 10 into 13 seconds, that much time it is required for sedimenting, and that is the Svedberg unit of any molecule. So here ribosomes, they have two subunits. If both subunits are joined, it will sediment at a 70 Swedberg units. So 50 plus 30, how does it come 70? It is not mathematics, this is biology. We are talking about the weight, the gross bulk weight of 50s and 30s joined together and separated together. If they are joined together, they have a sedimentation rate of 70s, and individually this will sediment at 30, this will sediment at 50. That is the difference. Okay, so ribosomal subunits, they are commonly called as 70s subunits in prokaryotes. They have dimensions about 14 to 15 nanometer, and that is length and breadth 20 nanometer. Molecular weight is approximately 2.7 million daltons. Each subunit is constructed from one or two RNA molecules and many proteins. As I said, what is this 30s and 50s? You open it will be a small RNA chain. Each subunit is constructed from one or two RNA molecules. RNA, the ends will have homologous joining, they will join. Same with the 50s, ends will join, and then there are some proteins associated with it. They are constructed of 50s and 30s, they join. 50s is the larger subunit, 30s is the smaller subunit. Prokaryotic ribosomes are smaller, they are less dense than the eukaryotic ribosomes. Ribosomes are composed of two subunits, each of which consists of protein and a type of RNA called as ribosomal RNA. So you see this 50s subunit which is there, that is containing again 23S and 5S rRNA. Means again, if you just go and open the 50S subunit, you will have two RNA molecules. One sediments at 23 Swedberg units, other sediments at 5 Swedberg units. So 23S and 5S, they combine to form 50S. Whereas the 30S, it is made up of only one RNA, that is 16S RNA. Then the 16S RNA, how did it become 30S? It has 21 different types of protein attached with it. When one RNA has 21 different types of proteins, so this nucleoproteinaceous material becomes 30S. This 30S combines with 50S to give a larger molecule. So let's just dissect the eukaryotic and prokaryotic molecule here. This is the prokaryotic 70S molecule. How does it look like? See, it looks like this. Ribosomes, they are RNA proteins, supramolecular complexes. They are most abundant type of RNA proteins. They are complex in their assembly. Composition of prokaryotic and eukaryotic ribosomes are shown here. So just see the prokaryotic one. This is the red defining line. On the left is prokaryotes, on the right of your screen is eukaryotes. So first, the comparison of prokaryotic and eukaryotic ribosomes. First, let us just see the prokaryotes. Follow the pointer. As this slide seems very complicated for you, when within 2 minutes I will explain this slide, it will be very easy for you to understand it. So I need your attention. Focus here, focus on the pointer here. So prokaryotes, these are two subunits. It is when it is differentiated, it becomes a monosome. So one single ribosome will be called as a monosome. These monosomes are 70S subunits. So their molecular weight, as I said, is 2.5 into 10 to the power 6 daltons. So large subunit is 50S, small subunit is 30S. See the pointer. Large subunit 50S. This is 50S and this is 30S. 50S is made up of 1.6 into 10 to the power 6 daltons, and small unit is 0.9 into 10 to the power 6 dalton. We are talking about prokaryotes. Then let us just now again deconstruct or dismantle the larger subunits. Just like you pen, what happens with a pen? A pen, the cap is there, then you open, it is different, refill is different, all it becomes different subunits. So you have some 8 to 10 different parts of a pen. If you go on opening it, then assemble it, you have a complete pen. Okay, so just like that, dismantling. Dismantle the 50S, what you get? You get 23S RNA. I have explained what is S. 23S RNA. So you see this is RNA, a chain of RNA. It is made up of 2904 nucleotides. Prokaryotes, remember, in prokaryotes 50S is made up of again two RNA molecules. One is made up of 2904 nucleotides, other is made up of 120 nucleotides. See the cursor here, see the red dot. This is 5S RNA made up of 120 nucleotides. This is 23S RNA made up of 2904 nucleotides, and it contains 31 proteins. Are you getting? This is the composition of 50S subunit of a prokaryote. So this prokaryote, it has a large subunit which is made up of 50S RNA. If you just decode it, then it has 23S RNA plus 5S RNA and some 31 different types of protein. Now see the same with 30S subunit. It is made up of only one RNA, unlike the two RNAs here. Means a prokaryotic ribosome is made up of three different types of RNAs. 3 RNA, one is 23, another is 16S, another is 15S. 16S is present in 30S subunit. So this 30S subunit is made up of 16S RNA molecule plus 21 different types of protein. So this 21 protein attaches to the 16S RNA and it forms a 30S subunit. This 5S rRNA and 23S rRNA are brought together by 31 different types of proteins and it forms a 50S RNA. This 50S RNA combines with the 30S RNA and it becomes a ribosome of 70S in prokaryotes. Got it? The same is there with the eukaryotes. Now you can just assemble. I will not go into more detailing. I will just explain the eukaryotic monosome ATS and I hope you will understand it. Eukaryotic monosome, that is ATS, is made up of 4.2 into 10 to the power 6 Daltons. Large subunit is made up of 60S RNA and small subunit is made up of 40S RNA. So 60S RNA and 40S RNA combine to form a sedimentation coefficient of ATS RNA. In the 60S RNA of the eukaryotes, as you can see here, in the 60S RNA of the eukaryotes, there are 28S RNA plus 5S RNA plus 5.8 sRNA. So there are 3 RNAs already in the eukaryotic 60S RNA or the larger subunit. The 20S RNA is made up of 4718 nucleotides. 5S RNA is made up of 120 nucleotides. 5.S RNA is made up of 160 nucleotides, and all these 3 are bound together by 49 different protein molecules, and this combinedly collectively results into a 60S large subunit. And in the 40S small subunit of the eukaryotes, you can see it is composed of 18S rRNA, 1874 nucleotides plus 33 different types of proteins, and this 40S plus 60S gives rise to a eukaryotic ATS subunit. This slide and this explanation is the most important type of information which you will be required to reproduce whenever the time may arise in the examination, in the interviews, in the vivas, or wherever you may need to reproduce it as your intellectual property of knowledge. So you should know this ribosome composition and eukaryotic ribosome composition and prokaryotic ribosome composition. This all in toto summarizes the structure of ribosome. What is the functions? Now let's see what are its functions. Function, only one important function of ribosome is to carry out protein synthesis. If somebody asks you what is the function of ribosomes, blindly tell them it is protein synthesis, and that process is called as translation. It begins with transcription of mRNA in the nucleus, we have seen that. Then mRNA travels in the cytoplasm with specific codes. In eukaryotes, it has to travel in the cytoplasm outside the nuclear membrane. There is no such hurdle in prokaryotes. In the cytoplasm itself, it starts and it binds with the small subunit of the ribosome, and the two subunits come together and protein synthesis takes place. Protein synthesis is divided into 3 stages: initiation, elongation and termination again. So there is initiation, elongation, termination for DNA replication. There is initiation, elongation and termination for transcription, that is formation of mRNA. There is initiation, elongation and termination for translation, that is the protein synthesis. That will be the point for my next lecture. As you can see, I have explained. Let's once again see the sites of ribosomes. They have 3 sites for binding: the A site, P site and the E site. The P site is the peptidyl binding peptide bond formation site or the amino acid donor site. As you can see, this is the P site here. This is the P site. Then A site, this is the incoming tRNA site. First bind A, amino acid site or the acceptor site. If the first tRNA comes, it is the acceptor site or the amino acid binding site. The second is the P site, which binds a peptide bond between the first and the second amino acid. E is not actually a site for any stable tRNA. It is just an exit site. It is exit site. I will explain that in translation. So there are 3 sites for the ribosomes. Okay. So that is all about the structure and function of ribosomes. My next lecture will be what happens next now. There is mRNA formation, there is a ribosome attaching onto that. Now this ribosome, when it moves onto the mRNA, some remarkable, beautiful, magnificent process takes place, and that is protein synthesis. In the end, I will try to show you the mechanism of translation with some good animations. I will give you some YouTube links also at the end of my lecture, and you can enjoy this process. Dear friends, genetics is as beautiful as our life is. Just think, take a second in time to think all the beautiful processes going out in your body without your control, and you have no right to get depressed in life. You have only one option to enjoy life to the fullest, and enjoyment comes from wisdom. Enjoyment doesn't come from eating, drinking, sleeping, or whatever other thing, roaming. No, real enjoyment, real happiness in life comes from understanding the things. When you understand something, it is the point of joy, and that is what we can enjoy all these processes by understanding and thanking life that we have such a beautiful life which is governing us with such beautiful processes. So next in the sequence we will be seeing translation. Till then, goodbye. Hope you are understanding and enjoying these lectures. Thank you.